Hi. I thought I'd jump on and just kind of just share where my thoughts are with self. Today, sun has been shining. It's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful day, and I felt calm. I had some back-to-back meetings this morning. I jumped up at 8 o'clock, slightly later than I wanted to because I wanted to be up before then. But nonetheless, I was in my study by 9. Jumped on my first meeting at 10. Second meeting went into straight after, etc. And then after my meetings back to back, I went and sat in the garden on the grass and listened to some affirmation and just absorbed the sunlight in, like literally staring at the sun with my naked eye and watching the lights kind of create some crystal prism. That's what it looks like. It looks like a diamond. And then after absorbing the light through this prism diamond, just closing my eyes, and then you know when the sun comes in your eyes and it's very red, and then just doing my shamanic natural dance moves that I did, or movements, and just creating these colours and shapes all around my eyes and just absorbing the energy while listening to the affirmation, you know, about being abundant, about being wise, about being compassionate, about being understanding, about being fruitful, about being wealthy, about being healthy. And was just feeling the energy and just feeling myself just vibrating to that level of love and abundance. And it was so beautiful. And I came in from out the sun and sat in the living room just holding a mitts. And then my son was like, he's going to go shopping. He asked me if I wanted anything. I told him. And then a little later, I thought, you know, I'm actually going to come for the walk, and I did. And the first supermarket I went into, Sainsbury's, the guy behind me is chatting, the girl in front at the till is chatting, and we're all bantering, having this laugh, etc. You know, and I don't even banter. I'm not the bantering type, and definitely since January, like I ain't really been holding conversations with anybody since January 2003. So for me to be kind of engaging in this banter, talking to these strangers, you know, demons, was so weird, but at the same time it was so generating too. You know, my energy was on fleek, the banter was going, the conversation was popping, it was funny and it was fun. And I said to my son when I come out, because even went into Tesco actually, we went Sainsbury's and we went Tesco, the next door to each other. And again, chatting to the guy on the till and the woman, and you know, big conversation, because the windows are smashed in because of some robber or whatever it is. And they don't have the security guard that they used to have anymore. So we're in some big conversation about it. What the hell's going on? So I come out there and I was like, yeah, I feel different, you know, son. I told him that I sat in the grass and just absorbed all of this life force energy from the universe, and I just feel different. So we've ended up popping into the chip shop because it's lunchtime on a Friday. And again, I wanted fish and chips originally, and then I changed my mind and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go old school. I'm going to go for a pita bread, chips and curry sauce. And the woman was like, you know what, I ain't done one of these for like 35 years. So she started reminiscing on the last time she did a Chrissy's special. And then like she half filled it and put the curry sauce on. I was thinking to myself, my God, can't she put a few more chips on? And I was kind of like edging forward so I could ask her. And before I did, she was already slapping the chips on. I was like, look at that. You are showing off and showing off, man. You know what I'm saying? And then she was like, you know what? I just do it like how I would like mine done. And then she turned her back to me and added more curry sauce on top. So what have you got? You got a layer of pita bread, chips, curry sauce, chips, curry sauce. And she's slapping on the salt and vinegar in between too. Are you nuts? I was so excited. I was like, it feels like my fucking birthday. Like the energy of it, I was so pumped up. It felt like my birthday. Like it literally felt like a birthday surprise to me. And it was curry sauce and chips. But the energy inside, it's like, it felt like abundance. It felt like abundance in the chip shop. You know what I'm saying? And it's the attitude of gratitude. You know what I mean? Gratitude is the attitude. And I found myself in just pure gratitude. Like, not only did she wet up the middle layer of chips with curry sauce, she bagged it on top and filled it up like the chips could not hold in a bit of bread. They were levitating above it, you know, because she murdered it. And it was for me. And she did it for me. And honestly, I said to her, I said, no, it feels like my birthday. Just vibing on the energy of the universe giving me. But get this, even before what I was sending my son to the shop for was scratch cards. I bought 2 scratch cards yesterday, but I didn't buy them. I actually had scratch cards that I'd won. So I had £6 scratch cards. Used the £6 to buy, obviously, 3 more scratch cards because I get the £2 ones. So anyway, and that's because Spirit showed me those specific ones from time, yeah? So anyway, so I won £6, I bought 3. I scratched the 3. Out of the 3, 2 won. So I ended up winning £14 in total. So I was like, bang, like one was £10 and the other one was £4. So I was humming and harming, should I spend half and keep half? Because that would be the wise thing to do. And then when I got to the shop, I was kind of humming and hawing about it. When I got to the shop, I thought, you know what, nah, I raised 14, I'm going to spend 14. I'm just going to invest back in. Does that make sense? Like, just keep it going, just keep the loop going. Because there's nothing to gain and there's nothing to lose. Does that make sense? Because it was just energy playing around anyway, you know. So I'm like, all right, say, spend the energy, get the energy, blah, blah, blah. So when I ended up buying with the 14, 7 scratch cards, 4 of one colour, 3 of the other colour. So I'm like, all right, bang. So I just sat in the grass again with my affirmation music on, absorbing the energy. All that good stuff. Eating my Chrissy special, doubled up with the curry sauce, feeling nice. Scratching my scratch cards. So obviously, after I've scratched the 7 cards, what I spent £14 on, I've scratched £8. So again, I've put the ones that didn't win in the bin, and I put the ones that did win where I usually put them, to go that the next time I go shopping, or next time I'm out and about, or the kids are going shop, then yeah, take these and get 2 more or whatever more of that. So if it's £8, then obviously 2 of one colour, 2 of the other colour. Just keep that cycle going, baby. You know what I'm saying? And that's all it is. It's just having a routine and sticking to the bomber clout routine, you know. And I'm telling you, that's what's helped me get through this journey, you know, this journey of ascension. And you know, I've always said that I've always been a spiritual being, but 2022 I jumped online on about, I can feel my inner divine feminine ready to come out. Like, there was this aura about me, you know what I mean? Aura about me, you know, at the time, you know, I could feel who I am today coming through at the time, and I was just like, oh my God, am I ready for this? And it's been a journey. It's been a journey, you know, from 5 personalities to even meeting more personalities and developing skills on hearing one's thoughts. You know, we all know that one has to be accountable for their thoughts, but how do we start to become accountable for thoughts? We have to start to listen to them. You know what I mean? We have to actually start to listen to our own thoughts. Because only when we start to listen to them can we then hold them accountable. Because if you're just thinking and your thoughts just flowing from any and anywhere, whether that from self, whether that from outside entities, whether that be from the divine spirit ancestors, the fact of the matter is, you need to define and determine where those thoughts are coming from and whose thoughts are they, and do you welcome those thoughts, or do you send those thoughts back to sender? You get what I'm saying? Or do you send those thoughts back to that energy, because that's not what you're about? Either way, you know, because I don't see good and bad as one or the other. I see them as a yin and yang of both sides, you know. So to me, there is no bad and there is no good. Does that make sense? And the reason why I say that, or to say that, is if we go by the Bible, and not everybody does, and I appreciate that, and I'm not necessarily about the Bible either, because I understand that it's a spell book. It's a book of contracts. It's a book of information, as opposed to these are the way of life, spiritual, blah 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 blah. Do you know what I mean? And it's a book of prophecy. But if you take the understanding of one of the stories in the Bible, is that there was a war in heaven. Now heaven is perceived to be a place of agreeable beings. So if there's a war in heaven, it must mean that agreeable beings had to become disagreeable in order to fight against disagreeable. Agreeable beings had to stand up for what's right, but be disagreeable in their actions and take action against disagreeable people. Does that make sense? So sometimes even within agreeable, there has to be a balance of disagreeable. And I believe that that's what this whole ascension journey, probably not whole of it, but I would say that a large proportion of this ascension journey has been about me learning to balance my divine masculine and my divine feminine, to balance my light side and my dark side, to balance what I perceive to be negative with what I perceive to be positive. And that has been a fucking tremendous beating, inspiration, hope, wonderful experience, traumatic. I mean, the whole perspective of words that you could use to describe something positive, equally to words that you could use to describe something positive and negative, is one of the same. Is one of the same in my ascension experience. You know, and I've been ascending. And like I said, I jumped on YouTube 2022 January on about I'm going through this ascension journey, and that's exactly what happened. But January 2023, you know what I'm saying, almost to the day of me saying I'm going on this ascension journey, ascension really licked me more so. And 2022 was a journey, but 2000 journey was an ascension of the physical me coming into the mental me, of me being more aware of my thoughts. Where are my thoughts coming from? Who is in control of my thoughts? What is determining my thoughts? What thoughts are linked to which emotional points in my body? Where do I feel the emotion in my body once I've had the thought? You know what I mean? And it was like almost taking inventory of my mind and really assessing it. And it was on that journey that I discovered that I've got at least five personalities talking to me. At least 5 different thoughts or angles or perspective of a situation I was able to capture and think, hang on a minute, who's that? Hang on a minute, who just said that? Who felt that? Where did that come from? That's how I started talking to myself. I've always spoken to myself, don't get it twisted, you know what I mean? Always had communication with self. There's always been a higher self with me from a very, very young age. You know what I mean? From about 4 or 5, I was seeing ghosts and entities in the house and speaking to the adults around me quite openly about it. I come from a very, very, I wouldn't say very, very, but I come from a spiritually aware family. So talking about Duppy, talking about ghosts, old wives' tales, all that kind of thing was normal. It wasn't shone upon. So there wasn't any need for me to kind of hide what was happening to me. I was just sharing what was happening to me. You know, so there's always been an awareness of entities and everything else out there. But now there was awareness of actually taking stock of what's going on inside of my psyche, what's going inside of my head. And in doing so, I was able to establish, hang on a minute, there's at least, well, I think the first one that I established or went in to learn about was the inner child. I knew that half the behaviors that I was demonstrating as an adult was because of eluded, conditioned way of thinking and feeling from a child. You know what I mean? And I didn't realize how anchored I was to it, but I knew there was defining issues. I had issues with my absent father, you know, and I had issues of abandonment, and I had to learn and come to terms with that. Hang on a minute, I have been abandoned. Why would I not have an issue about being abandoned when I was abandoned? And even when I was with people that were meant to love me, I still have been abandoned. So why would I not have an issue with being abandoned? There's no shame in that. There's no fucking shame in that. How could there be shame in a child being abandoned when the child is the child? The child is not an adult. The child can't just get up and go move in with somebody that loves them or move in with somebody that's responsible for them. No, a child's a child. You've got no choice but to stay put because you rely on the adults around you. And if the adults around you are doing the abandonment, that's not on you. It's not on you, and it sure as hell weren't on me. And that's what I had to come to realize and then start to unpick that. You understand me? So because I had feelings and traumas of being abandoned, I didn't want people to go. So if I don't want people to go, it means I hold on to people that are even treating me badly because I've got an issue with abandonment. Fuck that. And this is what I'm saying, like this abandonment issue, it plays out so, mine anyhow, it played out so subtly because if you had says to me, do I keep dickhead people around me? Or if you ask somebody about me and say, does Asha keep dickhead people around her? The answer would be no. Because I'm intolerable to fools. I'm intolerable to tutusness. I'm intolerable to idiotness. You understand me? And I'm intolerable to foolishness. So I don't have them kind of people or them kind of personalities around me. Nah, shut it down. But that's different from the abandonment trauma, because the abandonment trauma was very much about holding on to the people that I had been conditioned to love. There was an expectation to love my dad, and more so because I had a mom that just ran him down constantly. She couldn't wait for there to be an audience so she could chat shit about him. And she's exactly the same. She's cut from the same cloth. She is the female version of him. They're both narcissists. They're both abused, abandoned children that haven't dealt with their inner child issues. And it is what it is. And I said what I said. I said it. And that's the truth. Until we're ready to lift the covers off the bottom of the bed and have a look under the bed and face the goddamn boogeyman, we will always remain on the top of that bed in fear of the possibility of what's under the bed. When realistically, if you just looked under the bed, there's nothing fucking there anyway. But how many people are willing to face that fear? How many people are willing to go down the avenue, to go down the deep, dark valley of the shadow of death? Because that's what it is. It's a death. Fuck what you thought. Fuck what you think you know. It's a death. Okay, it's a death. Old belief systems have to die. Old behavior patterns have to die. Old ideologies have to die. Old opinions have to die. It's a death. And only when one is prepared, only when one comes to a point and a position of realization that, you know what, I can't go forward with the person I am today. This is no longer serving me. And that's where I was. I was on some fuck shit, running around after people that didn't even appreciate it. They were in competition with me. I'm thinking I'm spreading love and light, going around helping, giving all my love and giving all my stuff for free, my time, my energy, and and these people were in direct competition with me. Do you get what I'm trying to say? That was a mindfuck to come to realize that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I knew before I had kids and I had my first. I had my first son at 18, so I knew before I was 18 that my mum was jealous of me. So that wasn't a new epiphany that I'd come across. You know what I mean? I battled with it, and I battled with it for years because I just could not fathom, generally could not comprehend how a mother can be jealous of their child. Even now. Now I can accept that there are mentalities because they are broken, because they are unhealed, you know what I mean? Because they continually live in hell with themselves, that ideology can ring true for some people. And some people definitely can feel jealous towards a child, a sibling, a parent, a friend, whatever. You know what I'm saying? More so, obviously, it felt a little bit unrealistic that a parent would be jealous of a child because that parent gave birth to that child. But I have come to accept that there is a mindset that would justify that. You know, there are entities that feed on low vibrational people that the minute they harbor those kind of thoughts and lower their frequency, jump on them and just continually keep enforcing, yeah, look at her, look at her, look at her. She's more skinnier than you, she's more prettier than you. You know what I'm saying? If you're having to deal with them kind of demons day in and day out, there's going to be a time when you start to kind of check what they're saying. But that's why it's so important to be always raising your own vibration. Because it's only from keeping your vibrational high do you keep yourself protected from the low vibrational entities that want to ruin you. The low vibrational entities want company in hell. They want company in hell. So their mission is to trick and deceive us. Their mission is to trick, deceive, and get into our head and contaminate our thought process, so that we literally hand over our ticket into heaven to these fucking low dimensional fucking beings that aren't even human. And some of them are walking around in physical bodies calling themselves friends. And some of them are walking around in physical bodies calling themselves family. You know what I mean? But they're not. They're on a mission, and their mission is to take you off your mission. So you have to be just as fierce and just as accountable and just as fearless and just as determined as them motherfuckers. And that is to always keep your wits about you and start to put your thoughts in check. Who are these thoughts coming from? Why am I feeling jealous of my daughter? Hang on a minute, let me check myself. That's my daughter. I gave birth to her. She came out of my body. She's here because of me. She is a blessing to me, but I am a blessing to her. She chose me to come through on this planet. I have a duty to love, protect, and honor that child. And don't get me wrong, children are coming here with their own mission too, and it's not every child that's going to listen to their parent, and that's okay too. I've got children that sometimes listen and sometimes don't listen, and I have to tell them good luck on that path of karma. Because it's not just about who can't hear, must feel, because everybody has a right and everybody deserves to live their own path, to gain their own experiences and have those experiences transferred into wisdom. You know, so far be it for any parent to be picking up any pitney and saying to them, you will be on that spot and you will be on that spot and you will do that and you will do this, because that's not purpose. That's not allowing somebody to step into their own divine purpose, because the divine has a plan for all of us. So we can't think that we're going to determine the plan. It's the divine's plan, you know. So I am one of those parents that allow my children to have a degree of flexibility, but they have to also demonstrate that there is the consciousness that comes with that freedom. Because you can't just say to a child, all right, go out there and carry on an effort. No, you have to explain the consequences to them too. Because every action has a consequence. If you just say, you know what, fuck it, just get out of the house and get on by that. Nah, then obviously, you know, that child's more than likely destined to kind of make some significant mistakes along the way, which is fine too. There's nothing wrong with making significant mistakes along the way. However, if we can give diamonds and plant seeds in the minds of our young people, whether those be our children, our nieces, our nephews, or you're a teacher or whatever, if we can plant the seeds that say to them, okay, there are actions in it, and you're going to step out in the big bad world right about now because you want to do you and you think that you're a woman and you think you're a man, etc. However, there are certain situations that you may stumble across, and these are some of the outcomes that can arise from those situations. So for example, if you're going out there and you're having unprotected sex, the consequence of unprotected sex is a sexual transmitted disease, or even a pregnancy. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So the child needs to know that. Oh shit. So I can't just go out there and have sex with everybody unprotected. Well, the option is yes, you can. Does that make sense? Because it's your body and you're going to treat your temple however you see fit based on your own worth of yourself. But you also need to be aware of, by doing that, you're also going to put yourself at risk to these possibilities. The physical side of the risk, which is the STD and the pregnancy, wanted or unwanted, but also the spiritual risk, in that the spiritual entities that you pick up every time you sleep with another divine, a masculine or a feminine, And it's having the understanding that you're prepared to take on the consequences that might come with picking up on somebody else's energy and having to carry their karma or their demons around with you. You know, and I think that as parents, that's the advice and that's the support that we need to be passing on to our children and other children. That yes, anybody can take any action they wish because you have will. That's one of the things that the divine gave to all of us, will. You can go left or you can go right. You have will. You know what I'm saying? But will is only at its best. Will is only working at its best for you when will is aware of the consequences and the repercussions for actions, the goodies and the baddies that can come out of a situation. And again, there is no guarantee that by you doing A, you're going to get the same outcome as 10 other people. It could be something different, but nonetheless, you are aware of some possible variables, so therefore it's going to shape your decision. And hopefully it's going to shape that decision for the better. Okay, I'm going to leave out, I do want to be sexually active, but I am going to be conscious and use protection. And I am going to spiritually cleanse before and after an encounter. You know what I mean? To make sure that I'm keeping my physical health up and I'm also keeping my spiritual health up. You know what I'm saying? So one can go out there and act promiscuous, but one can also keep themselves protected and cleansed. So anyway, going back to this thought process, I started to kind of like check my thoughts as to where they're coming from, and obviously it transpired that my inner child had a number of the issues as to where a lot of my thoughts were coming from, and I had to start to create those detaches to these issues around abandonment and parental growing up and ideologies and holding myself accountable for a lot of the stuff that I had no responsibility for, but for some reason I'd taken it on as if it was my responsibility. And that meant that in my lifetime I had grown up feeling like the mom. I'd grown up feeling like the mom of my mom, because my mom's still running around like a 5-year-old abused child, as opposed to taking stock and to say, hang on a minute, why am I exuding all of this toxic behavior? Why am I in my 60s raving every night? And you know what it is? If a woman is in her 60s and she wants to go out and party every single night and wear clothes that express herself every single night the way that she's feeling, because again, no shade, it is what it is, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. What isn't fine, or not necessarily isn't fine, but what might not be deemed healthy, is if that person is going out every night and doing that because they are running away from facing other things. It's not fine when alcohol and partying and drugs are being used as coping mechanisms, because we choose not to do the healing, because the healing is too traumatic, and we feel so fragile that if we was to venture down the healing and actually go find that little girl who's curled up on the wall behind the door crying because something really bad just happened to her, and if we just, got into the room and just sat next to her and just offered her a hand, just literally stretched out a hand to her and tell her it's gonna be okay, and even perhaps embrace her, even perhaps pick her up off the floor and put her on your lap and just rock her and just say to her, do you know what, I will never let anybody hurt you again. But that's what that little girl inside of you, or that little boy inside of you, needs. He needs big bro to come get him, to come get her, big sis, and say, you know what, babes, you don't have to have them fears that you had before, because it's not that no more. We're big now. The people that used to boss us around can't boss us around. The people that used to bully us can't bully us. The people that used to sexually abuse us cannot sexually abuse us anymore. The people that used to physically abuse us, they cannot physically abuse us anymore. We're big now. But the inner child in us doesn't know that. doesn't know that, because we're so detached from them. By the time we get into adulthood, we've completely attached, we've completely buried that little person. We've buried them because we consider them to be weak. We consider them to be weak, and we consider them to be vulnerable. So therefore, it was like, fuck that. We don't need you no more. Fuck that. When we was you, we got hurt. When we was you, when we were you, we were abused. When we were you, this happened. I don't ever want to be you. So I don't ever want to remind myself of you. I don't ever want to go back to the traumas that you lived. I don't want to associate with you. None at all. That's how most people think about their inner child, or their inner child healing. But that's what it requires. It requires you going back to that little girl and back to that little boy, man, and making them know that they're not alone. They're not alone. They're not alone because you've got them. And they're not alone because nothing like that will happen to them again. Nobody will ever be able to hurt the 5-year-old you again. And do you know why? Because you're never going to be 5 years old again. You're never going to be 5 years of age. So how can anybody hurt the 5-year-old you? So how can we be scared to go back and get the 5-year-old? Go back and get the 5-year-old you. Go back and get the 5-year-old you. Man up, woman up. Go back and get the 5-year-old you, because they need you. They need you. They need you to tell them it's okay, to tell them that what happened to them was not their fault. And what if there was something that was their fault, then you forgive them. You forgive them because they was 5 and they didn't know any better. My 6-year-old daughter the other day said something. She said, I mean, she used some words that I dare repeat, but basically her message was, she'd had a negative thought, and I'm trying to teach my 6-year-old and my 9-year-old about being accountable for their thoughts, because I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. And this is something that has significantly changed wholly for me, of being accountable for my thoughts. So here I am teaching my children how to be accountable for their thoughts. So me and my 6-year-old was chopping it up because she's so intelligent. She's a genius. And we were chopping it up, and she had a negative thought, and I said, Shaya, you realise you had a negative thought, innit? And she said, yeah, Mummy. I said, well, what we're supposed to do when we have a negative thought? We said, Mummy, we overlap it with a positive one. So I said, all right, then overlap it now. But first of all, before you overlap it, pray and ask for forgiveness for the thought. Say that, you know what, I apologize. Like that thought that came into my head, I am going to be accountable for it. You understand me? I had that thought and I decided to act on that thought. And that's something I take responsibility for. You understand where I'm coming from? So therefore, I'm going to apologize for it, and I'm going to forgive myself for it, and I'm going to overlap it with a positive one. You know what I mean? And she turned around and she said, you know what, Mummy, that's why such a is an idiot. So she named someone and she says that they're an idiot. She didn't use the word idiot, she used a different word. She said, that's why they're an idiot. And I said, why, Shay? And she said, because I'm 6. She said, Mummy, I'm 6 and I know that I can change, how I can change my thoughts, and I'm 6. There's some people that are 30 and 40 and don't know that they can change their thoughts, Mummy. You understand me? That's why I'm saying that honestly, she's a genius, because her level of comprehension, it's not just that she can say big words and she knows the time to use them, because you know anybody can learn words from watching YouTube or whatever else, because again these kids spend a lot of time on different shows, don't they? It's not that. It's the comprehension. It's understanding something, analysing it, interpreting it, and then giving a new or a different dimension to the perspective of it. And that's what she did. She turned around and said, you know what, they don't realise that they have it. They're 30 and 40 and don't realise, Mum, that if you make a mistake, you just say sorry for it. You say sorry for it. You don't hide it under the blanket. You don't say another lie to get rid of the first lie and then have to lie the 3rd time and the 4th time because you're still trying to cover up the first lie. No. Put your hand up. My bad. My bad. I went in the cookie jar. You understand me? Them are my fingerprints. I was hungry. You understand? Simple. I was hungry, so I went in the cookie jar and I took out 2 cookies and I named them. Simple. Simple. What's the worst that can happen to you? You get a beating for having 2 cookies. You know what? The person who's beating you eventually is going to have to come to a point in their life where they're going to have to check themselves and say, you know what? Did I really beat that pitney for having 2 cookies and he was hungry? That's not on you. That's not on you. What's on you is taking the accountability and having the understanding and the overstanding and the understanding that there is no right or wrong, just accountability of ownership. Nobody on this planet has the right to judge nobody. See, if you took 2 cookies out of the cookie jar, it's nobody's right to judge you apart from the divines. You just know that I was hungry and I turned around and said, yes, it was me. Done. You understand me? Done in a way that whatever the consequences are, you're fine with that. You have to be fine with the consequences when you step into the truth. Because the truth is just the truth. And people say, oh, but what if you're holding on to the truth because you're trying to not hurt somebody? But how are you not hurting somebody? By lying to them. So you think you're not hurting somebody because you're not telling them that you're sleeping with another woman? You don't want to hurt their feelings that you're sleeping with another woman, so you're not going to tell them. That's bullshit. That's not you thinking about the other person. That's you thinking about yourself. You're a coward. That's what that is. Do you understand me? Because what actually you're doing is preventing that person from meeting their true divine masculine or their true divine feminine. And if you really, really love them, that's what you would want for them. You would be saying to that person, do you know what? I don't think this is working. I think we've ran the course of our relationship. So therefore, you know what? I wish you all the best of luck. And I hope you find your happiness. But you can't be locking this person down and not leaving them to go find their happiness while you're out there jumping around trying to find happiness. Nah, that's the actions of a selfish person. There's only one person you're thinking about, and it's certainly not your divine other. It would make more sense and it would set that other person free by telling them the truth. You know what? I'm ever so sorry, but I've gained feelings for another, and I really want to give this an opportunity to see where it goes. You know what I mean? And I don't see a future with me and you, even though you might do, but I don't. You know what I mean? That person has to turn around. They're probably not going to, obviously, some people aren't going to like it, but if the person's mature, and when I say mature, spiritually mature, to understand that, their divine masculine is out there. And when you find your divine masculine, when you find your divine equal that is equally yoked with you on a sexual, a spiritual, a mental, a physical, an emotional level, blood clot, you're going to wonder to yourself, what the hell was you doing sitting down with that monkey for so long? You understand where I'm coming from? You're going to be wondering, what the hell was I doing sitting down with that monkey for so long? So no, there is no good in lying to people to protect them. No, the truth is just the truth, man. The truth is ma'at. The truth is divine justice, man. The truth just is. There's no substitute for it. Either it is or it isn't. It can't be both. You know what I'm saying? That's some duplicity shit. That's when we're really getting onto some demonic fucking devil fucking worshipping shit. That's what I think duplicity is. People that run with duplicity, and I know bare people that run with duplicity. I think it's one of the biggest fucking demonic spells out there. And for those that aren't sure what duplicity is when a person mixes truth with lies. Like the Bible. The Bible to me is a fine example of duplicity. There are certain things in the Bible that can be held as truth, and there are certain things in the Bible that has been muddled based on interpretation or a deliberate attempt to deceive and trick. You understand? Bits carved out, bits put here, added there. Nah, that's duplicity in its finest. And what do Bibles do? They cause confusion. They cause confusion to the people reading them. And don't get me wrong, most people that read their Bible are like, I'm not confused, I know my Bible. How can you? When no story is complete. It's a book of parables. How could you possibly complete? Where is Cain and what happened to him? After he got cast out of the Garden of Eden and got marked and went to the city of Nod, where are his children? Where is his bloodline? So you can't say you're fully fulfilled and you know what's what with the Bible, because every story is incomplete. And every story, as far as I'm concerned, and many others are concerned, that it's truth with lies. And if we don't want to be as harsh and use the word lies, because I know the word lies can offend some people and that's not my intention, then we can say that it's with truth and missed interpretations then. Whether that be because of the language barriers of how many times it's been translated, whether that be because of King James and all the editing that's been done by him and many others before him and even after him. You know, the Bible is based in Africa, but yet still there's no black people in the Bible. Well, that depends which part of the Bible you're reading, because we know say there's a man in there with woolly hair and brown skin describing Jesus. But you get the point. It's duplicity. It's mixed with lies and it's mixed with truth. So again, one has to come back to their own thoughts and check them. So part of my journey in 2022 was again understanding that I had these 5 personality traits within me: my inner child, my divine masculine, my divine feminine, my empress, and my high priestess, you know. And I was able to recognize different periods of time in my life where I had been called a different name. So as a little child growing up, I was called Ashtray, you know, and then in my teens going into my 20s, Sasha, because I was fierce as hell. And then when I became going into my wifey stage, it was Rosie. And then obviously my boss stage, I've just been Asha. And now Ashira, you know what I mean, my high priestess stage. And I feel balanced in her. I feel balanced between my masculine and feminine. I feel balanced. And I never felt balanced before. If you go back to some of my earlier videos, I'm telling you, I'm straight man. Straight man. Like the masculine side of me was so dominant. Like I was like, feminine, forget feminine. Feminine's weak. I ain't got no time for that. Vulnerability. I ain't got no time to play with no vulnerability. People out here taking the piss. So I have to stand firm. I have to stand firm in my masculinity to make people know, don't fuck with me. You know what I mean? And it was toxic masculinity, and it was toxic masculinity because, to be honest, I didn't have, I literally had no role model to demonstrate what positive masculinity was. You know that there is negative masculinity and positive masculinity. Some people just think that masculinity is just pure aggression, and it's not. Positive masculinity can be more sensitive than feminine sensitivity. Okay, so believe me, all right, can be more sensitive than positive feminine, because there's some negative femininity, you know, some really that feminine energy can be negative. It can be aggressive. You know, if you mess with a woman's pitney, you mess with a woman's child. A divine feminine that has nothing but pure love and abundance. I know as a mom, I've been at the wacky warehouse and wanted to just pick up a next child and put them over that side of the room because they hit my child. Like, the love that I have for my kids is next level. You see women picking cars up and doing all kinds of crazy stuff to save and protect their children. Feminine has, a feminine energy has a masculine stroke negative side to it, as well as it does positive, and it's no different from the masculine. It's like you've got masculine and you've got feminine, but you've got plus and minus, and you've got plus and minus in a feminine setting. And I had loads of examples of masculine negative, but not lots of examples of masculine positive, you know. So it's really, really interesting how people define that. I had a male friend that described when he was finding his feminine side out, the only thing he could think of was to go shopping. So he went shopping like every day and just bought bare clothes, which makes so much sense. You know what I mean? If you're a masculine, you're trying to figure out what is feminine energy, then based on social media and TV, you're going to think shopping. More time, you're going to think shopping, because it shouldn't, well, not that it shouldn't, but you know, if you're a masculine, then it definitely shouldn't be makeup. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Confused masculine might be thinking makeup, but a proper healthy masculine is not thinking makeup. You know what I mean? But the latter could possibly be shopping. You know what I'm saying? Because men wear clothes too. And he wasn't out there shopping for women's clothes, obviously. So yeah, it could be a positive way, but that isn't necessarily the feminine aspect of masculinity in terms of going shopping. Just like shopping is not the be all end all for feminine energy. You know, when I was stepping into my feminine energy, I went through the shopping stage of purchasing makeup. I spent about £500 on stupidness. It's still in the bathroom now. Half of it's not open, and half of it I'd never put on my skin. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not even 100% natural, even though I did buy. I bought what I could as a natural product based on what was on the shelf. But enough of the products you couldn't get as a natural one, but I still was on this shopping spree. So yeah, I get it. But then beyond the shopping spree, it's then tapping into the energy of it. And that's what I had to do with my divine masculine, Sasha, and my divine feminine, Rosie. You know, Rosie was beat up anyway because she'd just come out of an almost 20-year marriage with a narcissist, and she was drained, and she was just like, you know what? I don't even want to wash my own body. I was just going to lie in bed. And that's what she did. And thank God I've got older children that are responsible, that I taught. You know, masculines that I taught how to cook, and I taught how to clean, and I taught how to wash to my standards as an OCD woman. So when that time came, they stepped into the role happily and willfully. You know what I mean? They, you know, my older son's fried dumplings are literally the best dumplings I've ever. They blow mine out of the water. You know what I mean? And I'm not ashamed to say I big him up all the time. His dumplings are mad. I swear they could sell. They could sell. You know what I mean? And he jerks. He does all kinds of stuff to them. It's like a Kinder Surprise. Not like there's stuff going on inside the dumpling, but in terms of seasoning and flavour and texture, he's got it to a point, man. Even today, you mentioned about doing some dumplings and that later on. I just jumped up, yeah. And then my second son, he thinks he's some gourmet chef. He does. Even if he's putting a salad together, it's colour coded. The plate's so pretty. And they were healing me through 2022 into 23. Their food, their love, their support was healing to me. They poured so much into me. They really did, man. They really did, and it just allowed me to step into that feminine energy and know the difference between toxic feminine energy and positive feminine energy. Toxic masculinity that I was exuding to. As I said, I didn't have any positive role models of what positive masculinity looked like, so it was the aggression side, the narcissistic behavior side that I was looking for. And again, in that process of learning about my masculine side, I learned that my dad is a good example of negative masculinity, and that's who I was based in my understanding and perspective of men of, my dad. So obviously I went and attracted a husband just like my dad. And it took me a long time to realise who my dad was. And he was telling me from the jump, he kept saying to me, Asha, don't see people for what you want them to be, see them for who they are. But I just had these rose painted colour glasses on. I'd created my own world, you know. It's like, if you watch Gina and Georgia on Netflix, this mom and daughter series, you'll probably get a little bit what I mean, because the two of them are perceiving each other from two different angles. And I came to realise this year that that's how me and my daughter were seeing it. I'm in survival mode, trying to be this, or I was in survival mode, trying to be this perfect wife, this perfect mother, this perfect daughter, this perfect sister, this perfect human being, while killing myself and intoxicating those that I love around me, because I was so unhappy, really. But I wasn't checking my unhappiness as unhappiness. I wasn't checking stress as my unhappiness. I wasn't checking my hair falling out of my unhappiness. I wasn't checking being in this toxic relationship with this narcissistic man as anything negative. because I'd seen these behaviors in my dad and other men. So why would these behaviors be a trigger to me when these behaviors are normal? My dad treats his women like they're his fucking PA. You understand me? He acts like he's got all of these accolades and qualifications, and he's not done fucking none of them, or probably a couple of them. But everyone is done is with the help of somebody else, and then they treat that somebody else like they're shit when they're the one putting in all the fucking work. But he gets all the fucking shine and glory like he's Johnny Big Bollocks. You ain't Johnny No fucking Bollocks. That's the truth. You're Johnny No fucking Bollocks. And then I've picked up and married a man that's exactly the same. Got me like I'm his PA. He ain't gained the qualification. I've done all of his qualifications for him. He's not qualified in shit. I said it. And that's the truth. But yet still running around like he's got all of these accolades and he's all that and a bag of chips, and he's not. Do you know what I mean? So it just goes to show, doesn't it, that the behaviors that I was clear of and knew of about my father, which at the time it just seemed like, oh, he had a wife that was there happy to help him, or he had somebody else that was happy to help him. You know what I mean? Not realizing that actually, do these people even like doing it? Like, do they enjoy doing it? Do they feel grateful when it is done? You know what I mean? Do they feel like he's actually turned around and said, you know what, I'm really, really thankful for that? Or do they feel like they've been shitted on every single fucking time? With no payment, no recognition, and no nothing. And that's what I'm saying, that the behaviours in one individual that seemed so acceptable were the behaviours in the other individual, which is why there was no way to kind of determine what was right or what was wrong. Because I had already been conditioned to accept that behaviour. And that's some of the bullshit, you know. Like we're looking at ourselves and we're judging ourselves as being really bad people because we're toxic. But actually, a lot of it is not our doing. A lot of it is a conditioning. We were actually conditioned. We were actually groomed to think and feel this way. Does that make sense? I've got a narcissistic mother who's very much about herself, but then we'll come across and see like she's about everybody else and their wife, but it's not. She's a mind manipulator. She does things behind closed doors. You know what I mean? She sets her intentions to get what she wants, and she's ruthless with it. And she doesn't give a fucking shit who she hurts. She doesn't give a shit who she manipulates. And sometimes her manipulation is so obvious, and sometimes it's very, very subtle. When I was growing up, she used to have me as the mouthpiece. So she'd chat everybody's business to me, knowing as a child that when we were out and about and somebody said something and they said something to her, I would be like, well, hang on a minute, how can you say that to her, to my mom when you where? So she would have me like a little guard dog, puppeting me around. I didn't even know I was being puppeted. For years and years, I did not know I was being puppeted. For years and years, I did not know why people didn't want to chat to me. And partly it was because of my mom planting seeds in me, but also going behind my back and chatting shit about me same way too. And then trying to pretend and play the victim when I said what was true about her. I've never chatted a lie about my mom to anybody. I've never chatted a lie about my mom on anybody. Anything I chat has been 100% the truth, the gospel truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Because I only deal with the truth. Enough people don't like me because I say how I see it. Enough people would turn around and say that's the problem that they have with me because I'm blunt. You ask the such man, my kids them's father. The man I just come out of a marriage with still don't want to let me go after 4 years. I'm fighting every minute trying to get through this divorce. He don't want to show up to court, and when he does show up to court, he goes on like an idiot. Why do you not want to show up to court? Why can't we get this divorce squashed? Why are you still trying to suck on my energy? Why are you trying to take all my goodness? Because you fuck all. Because you're fucking nothing. You're fucking nothing without me. You was nothing when I met you, and you'll be nothing, and you're nothing now. And you was nothing when I was with you. You understand me? You was on a gravy train. And that's the real talk. You've been on a gravy train for a long time. Enough people have been on a gravy train, but there's no gravy train now. Because I don't give you nothing. I learned how to wrap my energy up. I learned how to claim that bitch back. I learned how to purify that bitch. And I learned how to send your dutos nasty, stinking, dead out, suck out blood clot energy back. That's why I'm so shiny. You know, I got so upset yesterday because I went into Sainsbury's to exchange my lottery tickets and asking me for ID to get the money back for the ticket that I've already bought. Like, fair enough, the policy says that you might be asked for ID to purchase items that are over a particular age. I get that. But I never come here to purchase no item. I come here to exchange my lottery ticket. I've already been sold the ticket. Somebody has already approved me to be sold an item that is deemed to have an age restriction on it. I'm just coming to redeem my item and you want to ask me for ID on the way out. That don't make no sense to me. But that's the story. I'm still getting ID'd all up in the supermarket. Like, say I'm not 21. How can I not be 21 and I'm 42 this year? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm double what you're asking for, mate. And I've got my driving license with me, and I still, you know what I mean? I almost don't want to take out my driving license because I don't feel like I should be proving myself in this particular situation, because the policy is about purchasing items and I'm not trying to purchase anything. I'm redeeming an item that somebody has already given me permission to have, like I need permission. So yeah, but ain't that some shit? So even though I spent 20 years of my life with someone, it's almost like I've been handed the 20 years back. Got handed the 20 years back, and now all up in the place being asked for ID like I'm not 21. Are you listening? That's how the universe works, though, isn't it? That's how the cookie crumbles. But yeah, capturing one's thoughts were the greatest thing that I started to do. And as the thoughts kind of came in, it was then linking who the thought belonged to. So when it was a case where I'd be doing something and I'd become overwhelmed with fear as a presentation, I'd know that that was my inner child, because my inner child went through a stage where she was bright and clever and a genius, and then the nursery school that I was in was holding me back, putting me to play in the sand and all the rest of it. And I was like, Mum, I don't want to go back to school. The teachers don't want to give me the next work so I can beat all the rest of the kids that want me to play in the sand, and I don't want to go. And I've had this conversation with my mum. My mum records this conversation because she's told me the story many times. But I remember having the conversation. I remember being in class. I remember being in the classroom at that particular nursery school. I remember the sandbox they put me in. I remember the day that we had to make these fish out of clay and then varnish them and put them in the oven. I remember so much about these childhood memories because I've done enough of the regression. I've gone back into my childhood, and I've gone back and took the little girl off the floor and I've put her on my lap and I've made her know nobody will ever fucking hurt you again. Period. I even went out and bought brown teddy bears because I had a brown teddy bear when I was younger. I went out and I bought a brown teddy bear. My older kids then bought me the other one. You understand where I'm coming from? And I had the two at the bed, and one behind me, one in front of me, just like how I used to sleep as a kid. You gotta go back and you got to do the physical healing. You got to do the emotional healing. You got to do the mental healing. Don't think you're just heading back one time, you know. Oh, remember that one time at band camp? Nah, it's not gonna work. It's not the one time thing. It's a process. It's a process, and it's a lifetime process, because guess what? It took 41 years to get here, and it might take 41 years to heal it. And if that's what it takes, then so be it. You know, there ain't a timer on this thing, and there isn't a string on this thing. You know, it's not that kind of party. It is what it is, and it's going to take as long as it takes, period. And you're either on it or you're off it. But if you jump on it and you jump off it and you jump on it and you jump off it, just know that every time you jump off it, you're starting again from the fucking beginning. You understand me? Because you're going to have to touch over the old ground again. Because you're never going to quite know if it really did get healed, because you didn't complete it. And the last thing you want, it's like a bad apple. You know, they say a bad apple spoils the bunch, because that one little worm will make its way around. You know what I mean? That one little incident, that one little time when your mum was late for you, picking you up from after school club, or she forgot to put you in an outfit because it was non-uniform day and she sent you to school with your clothes, your uniform, and all the kids laughed at you. That one incident could be the reason why you don't stay in a job more than 2 weeks. And you're thinking, how the fuck? But it's true, that one incident of you being abandoned, that one incident that everybody laughing at you, that one incident of feeling like you're the odd one out, that one incident can make you feel like you never get it right. So because you never get it right, therefore you've almost made that belief system become a testimony in your life. I never get it right. I never get it right. So from you're at the job 2 weeks and somebody looks at you sideways or don't look at you at all, depending on which point of the spectrum your paranoia lies, you're gone. You've left the job. Because as far as you're concerned, you never get it right. And I'd rather leave now before they work it out, or they've worked it out, so I'm going to jump quickly. Again, whichever side of the spectrum you stand on. But it just shows how something, not small, but how something can be left to infest, to manifest itself. What started out as one little apple with a worm is now a whole barrel of apples just spoiled. And you've got this fat worm called fear, living it up, celebrating because you've just been feeding him for 30 years. You've just given him 30 years worth of apples to munch through. And you're thinking it's you. You're thinking that you're rotten on the inside. You're harbouring all this rotten apple. When you open your mouth, it's venomous because the apples are fermenting and it's bare alcohol level cider coming out of your mouth, which are words of poison. Words of poison because your words have become so venomous. Because all the fermented fruit inside of you, because one rotten fucking apple spoiled your bunch of apples over 30 years, because you have just been reinforcing the same bullshit belief system that you're not good enough. And why? Because your mum left you or didn't fucking put the right clothes on you. No, go back and heal the fucking person. Your mum was having a bad fucking day. Your mum was putting up with your dad. You understand me? Your mum's car broke down. What the fuck ever? Go back and figure it out. You understand me? But have some fucking compassion for the mom that didn't get there on time, because we know what it is now that we're adults and it fucking traffic, different variables. There's all sorts that could have happened. It doesn't necessarily mean abandonment, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't give a fuck. So I'd like to do all of that with my mum and dad, and weigh up the pros and the cons of certain actions. And there's certain actions of my mum that I can 100% forgive with love and light and compassion, because you know what, you definitely did your best. You definitely did your best. In enough of the cases, you definitely did your best with what you had, and I can only big you up and rate you for that. But then there are other circumstances where it really wasn't about your best. It was because you allowed evil entities through your own thoughts to tap into you and make you experience emotions and feelings towards your children that you should never have felt. A mother that is jealous of her daughter is going to deal with her daughter differently than a mother who just loves and loves her children abundantly, unconditionally. A mother that loves her children unconditionally is not going to see the flaws in everything that they do. You understand me? It's when there are conditions we see the flaws, and I've seen the flaws in my children most of their life, because I've just been the same product of the child I was with my mum. I couldn't do nothing that she was proud of. Unless I was whining out and skinning out, she weren't proud. Telling her that I went to uni, telling her that I'm getting married, telling her that, nah. Telling her that I'm driving, telling her that I'm doing a master's. Oh, I'm doing my PhD. Nah. That never turned on she. You understand where I'm coming from? You brooked out, wild, skin out, grab up your panani, cock up your leg. Yeah. I want to know all about that. What you did with your man last night. Yeah. Sign up for that, man. She's got popcorn out and everything, man. She's in there like swimwear. Those are the things that she considered to be valuable, which is not true. It's not true. But it can become truth, and it can become a reality based on somebody's thoughts. And when we're not checking our thoughts, we allow negative entities or lower level entities to tap into us. It's like if you've got children, there's a cartoon called Miraculous with Ladybug and Cat Noir, like a little girl that changes into a ladybug and a little boy that changes into a cat. And then there's some evil baddie, I can't remember what his name is. Anyway, there's some evil baddie and he's got all these butterflies. And when he senses, like he's got some machinery or technology in his house that senses when somebody's thought process goes into a lower level. It's a fucking cartoon for kids. You understand me? Miraculous. And it's not no bad cartoon. It's one that you would allow your kids to watch because it's bright and it's fun and whatever. But the methodology and the message behind it is that this man is in his yard, his mansion, waiting for one of Cat Noir or Ladybug's friends to turn negative against them. Because the minute they have a bad thought, he's touching a butterfly, because they're usually white, but when he touches them, they turn purple, black, whatever. And he sends the butterfly out, and the butterfly goes into the body of the friend, and then that friend turns into a wicked villain, set to kill them. Set to kill Ladybug and Cat Noir. The people that are closest to them is what this demon man is using to kill them. But how can he do that? He can only do that once they've had a negative thought. I swear to God, go and watch it. Miraculous. Just watch every series. It's the same thing. Every series, a friend has a negative thought and a friend turns into a villain trying to kill them. That's the fucking whole show. That's the whole point of the series. Going around and around and around. Every series is a different friend that gets hooked for a different reason. Do you understand where I'm coming from? And Chloe Bourgeois is her arch enemy, but it's not always Chloe Bourgeois that's getting negative thoughts about her. It's some of the closest friends to her. And it's no different to when I say to people, they got Mr. Smith. Because that's how I see it. I feel like this is a mate. You not feel like I goddamn well know. And the people closest and nearest to dearest to you. So you can either look at it in the spiritual sense of it being lower entities tapping into people and changing them and making and harnessing their negative thoughts and encouraging their negative thoughts and making their negative thoughts more amplified in their head. Or you can look at it on a scientific level with regards to the Matrix, where Mr. Smith could transfer himself into any police body or anybody, couldn't he? As long as he was near them guys, he could catapult. And that's how I see certain friends and family. You understand where I'm coming from in both examples that I've given. Some of them it's a case where they're just waiting for them to have a negative thought, but sometimes it's the actual entity that has downloaded in the individual. Straight up, man. You think every man and woman out there is a human? I think not. I think not. And I think not every man and woman out there is from the same essence that I'm from. I think not. I think not. You understand where I'm coming from? There are more than enough, more than different entities, different species, different extraterrestrials, different life forms. Just look at the insect world. Look how many different species of insects there are. We're meeting new insects all day long. Even today I was just out in the garden. I seen one blue dragonfly, one tiny little skinny dragonfly, beautiful. You should have seen how blue it was. It was so blue. It's like a magic, you know, that the nature is actually creating these luminous blue colors. I mean, all colors come from nature anyway, but how beautiful was it to see it? So if we've got all these species of insects, all these species of sea creatures, all these species of animals, why would there be just the couple of us species? Chinese, Indian, black and white? Nah. And even if that is the case, that there's Chinese, Indian and black and white, are we all the same? You know what I mean? Because as far as I'm concerned, Down syndrome is a race of its own. And not a race, because the word race doesn't really exist. But I do think it should be celebrated as its own almost like humanoid. Because whether you're white, black or Asian, all Down syndromes carry a very, very similar look. You know, you could put them all together and say, you know what, the family. Whether it be the shape of their body, the shape of their head, the shape of their mouth, the way they walk, there are similarities and familiar features in all Down syndromes. And there are also some similarities and features in little people. I don't think that the D word is politically correct anymore. But all of those people, whether it be their big bottoms, their chunky thighs, you know what I'm saying? Even in terms of the males, have really, really large penises, etc. It's a feature. No shit. It's a feature. And it's a feature that I think they should be recognised for and celebrated for too. Yeah, I'm saying not just the penis, but their bodies, the way they do things. You know what I'm saying? It's beautiful. I'm just saying that there are many types of us that make up this world. I don't think we should be as ignorant to the possibility that there it might not just be one type of human species living in a human avatar, because at the end of the day we are all in a host. You know, we turn around and say that the Holy Spirit is a breath that is breathed into us. So this is an avatar, this is a vehicle, because the spirit lives inside it. So if my spirit can descend down into this body, can't other spirits, can't other entities descend and live in other people's body? It would make a whole lot of fucking sense and explain why some of the behaviours and so why some of the people out here are right as fucking crackerjacks. Like the people that are fucking eating kids and eating fucking humans and molesting off the fucking place. Whether that be the Pizzagate, drain the fucking scrum, or whatever the fuck is going on out there, it would make a lot of fucking sense that these people do not come from the same fucking cloth as you and some, as me and some of you. Because we know already through our thought process, that's not right. It cannot be right molesting children. It cannot be right eating other human beings. So if there is something in your head saying that that is right, that's either a Mr. Smith, there's another entity in that body, or there is some dark entity that is now manipulating the thought process of that person, justifying those behaviors. We're a human being, and every single one of us has been a baby. Every man has been a boy, and every female has been a girl. You understand where I'm coming from? And if human beings are based on empathy and compassion and emotions, then at some point, those things kick in and say, actually, this is not right. You can't go around hurting people. You can't go around hurting children. They're vulnerable. You can't go around hurting people. You can't go around eating people. You can't be going around grinding people up and putting them in burgers. You can't be flipping grinding up bones and calling it fluoride, whatever, and putting it in the water. Like, the normal mind would just not to think of things like that. The normal mind, or a healthy mind, a healthy positive mind, would not be thinking of ways that they can harm somebody. They would be thinking about ways of how they can purify the water to make it safe for everybody to fucking drink. We talk about this planet's in poverty and nobody's, you know, there's not enough money or food to go around, but there fucking is. There really, really is. But there is a mindset of a group of people that hold a lot of power and money is not even real. That's the biggest fucking illusion. Money is not even real. There is no money in the bank. Everything is written on promissory notes, which are financial instruments. A £10 note is a financial instrument. It holds no value. And there's no value at all in the banks. You know what I'm saying? It's mad. And you might be thinking, what is she talking about? Of course money is real. This is the £10 note that I'm holding in my hand. No, babe, what you're holding is an IOU. You know, you're making a promise to the bank that if the bank collected, you would pay them the equivalent to what the value of that £10 note is at the time. And the only thing that is tangible to make any sense that would be valuable is something that is tangible, which would have to be diamond, silver, gold, copper, lead, all of the things that we once took for granted as monetary value before we got into this paper system. People didn't want to travel with large pots of money, especially when they were trading. You know, this is going back years and years and years now. But this is how it all came about in terms of the banking system. People did not want to be traveling with large amounts of boxes of gold and stuff to trade. So therefore, what they did was a promissory note to say that on collection, I would do that. So it's almost like a pay Peter to rob, not rob Peter to pay Paul, but almost like that. So for example, I owe somebody in India 10 grand, But somebody in India owes me 10 grand. So I would write a note to say, you know what, you owe me 10 grand. Instead of coming to mine by boat with the gold and risking it, you pay my man who's closer to you the 10 grand, and I'll give you a promissory note to say that once that's been paid, I'll let go of your goods over here. That's how it worked. That's how the paper bonds and the paper instruments for financial settlements came about. So we're running around in this illusion of money because money is just an illusion. It's not real. The only thing real is what you can see and what you can hold in your hand. So from a monetary, I mean, don't get me wrong, it doesn't just have to be a monetary value, because cows and sheep have a monetary value. Human beings have a monetary value. Paper, a £10 note, does not have a monetary value. It has a monetary illusion that it has a value, but the paper, it doesn't. It's just, if you went and burnt down a whole house with paper in there, it means nothing. I mean, don't get me wrong, you could burn down gold too, but you could burn gold, copper, metal, and them down again and again and again, and it would still make purified gold, especially if it was 24%, 24 karat. But yeah, we're going off a little bit. But just coming back to the point though, is that one has to be in complete control of their thoughts, and that's the be all and end all. And you do that by being accountable for your thoughts. When your thought comes in, check it. Where's that thought coming from? Is that a thought connected to my inner child? Is that a thought connected to my divine masculine? Who's hurting? Or who's happy right now? And once you can start to bang on, yo, that was Rare that said that, you know, or that was Rare that said that. It works better if you name them, you know, however righteous it may sound to some people. You just know that you're doing what you're doing for you, and you're not pennying nobody else. And the more you stop pennying people and start to think about yourself and be accountable for yourself, the more you start to ease and check your thought process. So after I conquered knowing who was saying what inside me, was that my divine feminine, was that my divine masculine, was that my high priestess? You understand me? Then I started to be able to listen to myself thinking. So I've got these personalities that are jumping in and out and have their 2 pence. But there's also like a, you know how I said you got Will earlier on? So imagine, like, push the 5 personalities to one side because it gets deeper. So you've got the 5 personalities on that side, you got Will in the middle, and then you know how to say you got the good angel on one side and the devil on the other side. Whatever. let's not give them horrible nicknames. Let's just say that there are perceptions, that you've got these 3 perceptions. You've got the left way, the right way, and you've got the will inside to make that decision. So in my head, I've started listening to the 2 people having a conversation, and then me on the outside listening to the 2 conversations. So what that meant is not that I was having a conversation about one of them saying do it, and the other one saying no. Nah, it was 2 individual thought processes. So on this side of my brain, I was singing a song. You know, I was walking through through the town centre, and I was singing a song to myself. And as I was singing a song, my other side of my brain was thinking about the shopping list that I was coming into the shopping centre to get. So I'm singing a song and I'm reading out the list. And then now I'm looking at myself in my head. Probably looking isn't the right word, but I'm consciously aware that I'm hearing a song play, and I'm also hearing myself read out a shopping list. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that I am in my head analyzing my own thoughts. I'm on the outside of my thoughts. So I am the thought that is singing. I am the thought that is doing the shopping list. I am the thought that is watching or listening to these 2 thoughts play out. But then I am the background thought that is thinking about me watching these 2 thoughts, as well as having the experience of those 2 thoughts. So yeah, if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, you don't. But that when I realized what was going on in my own head, I was like, what the fuck? This is mad. But that's where one needs to get themselves. And I would say the best way to start is by start singing. Start singing a song that you know the words well to in your head. And then try and separate the song from being sung in your head to you having a new thought. Okay, so for example, I can play I am in love with you. Beyonce. Yeah. So dangerously in love. So I'm singing dangerously in love in my head. So why that's playing in my head, because I'm still dancing to it, but I'm talking to you now, aren't I? But you can still see that I'm working on the beat of Beyonce. So I will keep doing that. So that means now you're able to recognize that you can hold a tune in your head and you can still have a conversation with somebody while you're rocking to that tune. Now, how about you put that conversation that you're having in front of the mirror in your head while still rocking with the tune? So now you know that you're having a conversation in your head about the person you're looking at in the mirror and you're still rocking to the tune. So that's at least two separate thought processes that you're having at the same time. So automatically you're a G because you can do it too. Now you're just going to practice on that bit until you get behind the person having the conversation with yourself, or and the person and the voice that's singing the tune, and so on and so forth. And it's about just getting behind it and being in front of it and being at the side of it until you're in control of it completely. Because when a person has control of their thoughts, they have control of themselves. Because as a man thinks it, a man becomes it. So if you're going to become your thoughts, you have to be aware of your thoughts. You have to be in control of your thoughts. If your thoughts are negative and dark, you will become negative and dark. If your thoughts are positive and of abundance, you will become positive and abundance. It's the standard equation of the law of attraction. This is not new. This is not new. This is not voodoo. This is not science. This is just standard universal law. You are what you put out. You will attract what you put out. If you're out there doing spell work and everything else like that, then you're going to get that back. You're going to get, especially if the person is divinely protected. You understand where I'm coming from? It's going to come back to you. So therefore, doesn't it make more sense putting love out there? Doesn't it make more sense putting love and abundance out there? Doesn't it make more sense saying, do you know what? I wish you love and light. You know what I'm saying? I wish you love and light, knowing that by wishing somebody love and light will come back to you 3 times over. Would you not want love to come back to you 3 times over rather than pain and destruction and evil eye? Nah. So doesn't it make sense just to give love? It 100% makes sense just to give love. It 100% makes sense just to give love and light. And forget the fuck your bullshit. This planet don't have space for it, man. We've moved into a completely different cycle now. If you don't know, you better get to know. But this is not the masculine. This is not demonic. I mean, yeah, run. You've come and you've had your time and you've had your wicked fun, and now it's not your time no more. You know what I'm saying? So it's a different age. It's a different element. It's the golden age. So again, I'm gonna end it here. But what I just want to say is that lesson number 1: start to kind of listen and take control of the thoughts that one is having, so that one doesn't become a vibrational match to lower level entities. 2: start to work on that inner child healing and facing some of the issues that happened in your childhood, and go back for that child, both physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Go back for the child. Go back for the child in you. And then 3, I would say that once you establish the relationship and you start to do that healing and you're starting to take control of one's thoughts, be prepared to start seeing some mad stuff happen to you. be prepared to really go through some next level ascension. my son, just quickly, my son was like, Mom, you're acting like you ain't tasted chocolate before, because I've always been spiritual. He's like, you're acting like you ain't tasted chocolate before. I said, son, I have never tasted this chocolate before. I have never fucking tasted this chocolate before. This ascension is some next level. That's what I'm gonna say on it. This ain't no normal shit. And those who know, this is a different time. Mm. Mm. Yeah, so Jah Rastafari. Take care, and I'll definitely jump on and see you guys soon, alright? Love and light, always and forever. Ashe.